Prof, why cannabis though, right? Because you could have done it when you think complementary medicine, when you think alternative medicines, Chinese medicines, African medicines. You went straight to cannabis. Why cannabis?
My dad got very ill. He got a sickness that a lot of us knows.
He got cancer.
Prostate.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to go for chemotherapy. I got cannabis and I played around with some plant material. I made a concoction. They thought he's got something like 3 months left to live, 3 or 4 months. 3 months became 6 months, became 12 months. And to make a long story short, 12 years later, my dad passed away of old age.
So today we're joined by Professor De Bee, a leading voice in cannabis innovation, research and development in South Africa. Guys, Zolo, but all the wonderful things about it. Now, his work sits at the intersection of science, policy, as well as industry. He's been instrumental in helping shape how cannabis is understood, cultivated, and even commercialized in this country. We're not just going to be talking about the science. We're going to dive into the person behind the work, his journey, his motivations, and the experiences that shaped his path. So, Professor De Bee, welcome to Be Frank with MacG.
Thank you so much, MacG. It's a pleasure being here. Thank you so much. It's an honor for me being with you. Thank you.
So before we get into the nitty-gritties and, the juice and the meat of this podcast and interview, right? Who is Prof Benny De Bee? Who are you in real life outside of the accolades and being a professor and the science and everything? Every day when you wake up, outside of work and science, who's Prof De Bee?
Oh, in real life, I'm a workaholic. I go to bed 12 o'clock at night. 5 o'clock I'm awake. Since I finished school, all that I've been thinking of is, my future, and I'm a people's person. I care a lot about people. If you most important thing for me is basically is what drives me is problems. If I see a problem, I don't see problems like other people. Any problem, I see opportunities. People see problems, and so in real life, who I am, I look for problems, and then this is how I would sum myself up, and then look for simple solutions. I believe in the KISS principle: keep it simple.
There's one S that you left out. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yes, no, keep it simple. Yes. So, out of my story, my whole journey in this industry, it's been a very long journey. It's about 18 years. I know I'm not allowed to. Let me not say 18 years. I might get into trouble. Okay.
Let's not get into trouble.
Let's say 8 years. But let's say 18 years of research and into the specific product. So, which is it's a half or quarter of a lifetime. For some people. So, who I am, and out of this industry is. I'm a family man. I've got 2 kids, 2 lovely kids, Valentino and Vincenzo.
Valentino and Vincenzo, those are Italian. Why did you give them Italian names? I mean, outside of Pete, Corbus.
Let me tell you why. It's actually such a crazy story. So Valentino, my 14-year-old son, he would have been born on Valentine's Day.
Uh-huh.
So we called him. And I went to my father, I said, what are we going to call him? So Valentine's Day, we wanted to call him Valentine. Yes. So my dad says, you can't call him Valentine because in the older days, what the Boers did, the donkey that works the hardest, name was Valentine.
Uh-huh.
So then 4 or 5 days before Valentine's Day, my wife got very ill because the string went around the neck and she had to do an emergency. Umbilical cord went around the neck and she had to do a emergency, when they take the baby out.
Yes.
I know a lot of fathers say they want to be there, but blood, spiders, cameras, and snakes is stuff I can't handle.
You can't deal with.
No, I can't deal with. So, and actually, when he was born, we didn't even have a name yet because it happened in such a, case of emergency. And it was about 4 or 5 weeks in ICU. And then we just came up with the name Valentino because it just sounds nice. And, and your other son, when Vincenzo was born, had exactly the same problem as his brother. Exactly the same experience happened. And, you can't call your one son Valentino and the other one Koos or Ben, So we had to come up with a name.
It doesn't work.
So it doesn't work. So we had to come up with Vincenzo.
Yeah.
So it's Valentino and Vincenzo De Bee. So my life is about my wife and my kids, and and obviously the people I work with.
And I'm sure
my
they've
parents.
got a lot of explaining to do. I can imagine you at school and you say, "My name is Vincenzo De Bee."
Yes, it's a lot.
It made life very interesting for them, right?
Very, very interesting. And also, if you speak to my kids fluently in English, we raise them in English, although we're an Afrikaans family. I love Afrikaans, but in reality, this is what I think. What I've learned through life is you've got to face facts and call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
Your kids got to speak English. That's very important. If where the world is going, and I'm so glad I've done what we've done. They obviously speak Afrikaans as well. So we raised them in English. They started their own little business when they were 5 years old.
Wow.
Called Vintinos.
The Vintinos.
The Vintinos, they started selling some coffee and tea and at Robots. This was many, many years ago, their first little business. So my kids were born also with this entrepreneurial spirit. So
amazing.
which is very nice because we know how the world is and we know how scarce jobs is. I'm a big believer in job creation. If I see people's got a machine that makes something, and how my mind works is different than other people. I'm not a capitalist, somebody that chases money. I would rather employ 5 people to do the work of a machine and make less profit than having a machine to do that work.
Wow.
So it's better because and I taught my kids, and sharing is caring. And there's so much to share if you do it in the right way.
Prof, how did you get involved in the sciences, right? Because you don't just wake up and people call you professor for shits and giggles, right? How did you get involved in the sciences?
In the sciences, I think the first time was about 9 years ago. I started in Botswana, and they appointed me to assist the adjunct minister with the youth development and job creation, and the adjunct minister look at my profile and what I did for the youth there. We made some trolleys, to create some jobs in Botswana those years. And he took me to the university. The university looked at Mkukweng University in Swaziland. They looked at my profile and they said, listen, we want to appoint you as a professor to teach our teachers in entrepreneurship and how to start business. My experience, you always think you would always think, if you look at somebody's experience, is it the successful people in business that can teach you, or is it the people that made all the mistakes? Now, I don't think success should be the teacher of how to do it. All your mistakes that you made, that's actually where you learn. If you don't make mistakes, you don't learn.
You don't learn, yes.
And that was in Swaziland, and then from Swaziland, obviously, we got this. Just prior to that, we got into the COVID thing. Then at VUT, World University of Technology, they also looked at my profile and my experience that I've got, especially in this complementary medicines, and in my cannabis experience that I've got, cannabis and hemp experience, and the fact that the products that we've developed, you must understand, I'm not a scientist. I didn't go to school for a biochemist, because stuff that we make, there's no books or learning curves. It's literally, what we've done is out of hard experience, experiencing it, figuring it out, how to, to do it, how to actually manufacture, how to compound these specific medicines.
Prof, why cannabis though, right? Because you could have done it when you think complementary medicine, when you think alternative medicines, Chinese medicines, African medicines. You went straight to cannabis. Why cannabis?
Okay, this is where I don't want to get into trouble, but you can make up your own minds what I did when I had to do what I had to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was about 18 years ago. Yes. My dad got very ill. He got a sickness that a lot of us knows, and that's incurable, and you've got to go for chemo for that.
He got cancer.
They said cancer, prostate.
Yeah.
And he didn't want to go for chemotherapy. And just because, that was just my dad. He used the other medicines and stuff, but the chemo thing was not something very nice. So I Googled, did a lot of Googling. And those years you got Rick Simpson oil. Mm. And I'm not saying I got cannabis, but I did what I had to do, and I played around with some plant material, and I made a concoction, and we tried it where, they thought he's got something like 3 months left to live, 3 or 4 months. And eventually, 3 months became 6 months, it became 12 months. And to make a long story short, 12 years later, my dad passed away of old age. Not of what he was said. So,
Prof, hold on here, right?
Yes.
Hold on, let's take this back, because this is the big thing, right?
Yeah.
So your dad was diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Yes.
Right? You looked at his illness?
Yes.
Was he taking any other medication? Was he on medicines or whatever until he got your concoction? Maybe explain
he was,
that.
yes. They gave him all kinds of, I can't even remember what kinds of medicines,
pills
and stuff like that. And I'll even tell you an experience that I'm sitting with right now with my mother, why, what's happening as we sit here. In any case, he was taking that, but I think, also, and I've got to be dead honest, faith plays a big role.
Mm-hmm.
My dad had faith, but 18 years ago, if you speak about cannabis, there was only one word for cannabis. That was dacha.
Yes.
There was no medical cannabis. That Rick Simpson stuff was still like up in the air, and no-go research.
Dacha was dacha.
Dacha, klar, finish.
Yes.
And my dad was not a smoker. My dad was not a drinker. Let's fast forward up until today. If you meet my mother and look at her medical history, since I was probably standard 6, standard 7, my mother was in and out of hospitals and mental institutions. Then after my dad passed away, my mom got actually very ill.
She got
sugar diabetes, high blood pressure, bone marrow disease, all kinds of sicknesses. Now, every 6 months, then she ended up in hospital, if you look at her medical history, because there was pills for morning, afternoon, and night. And then it got mixed up, and then it had a mental effect on her. And then we had to replace this pill with that pill because of the sugar diabetes. And 5 years ago, about 6 years ago, when we got the first medicinal cannabis license to actually grow it legally in South Africa, the only way to give patients legal cannabis in South Africa is through a Section 21. If you want to go the medical route. And how that works is she actually says you see a doctor that's registered at the regulator. The doctor prescribes medicinal cannabis for you, and then you get the medicinal cannabis. So what I did, I applied for a Section 21 for my mother. Although I didn't need to do it, I just wanted to do it the legal way.
Yes.
They approved it, and I started giving my mother raw cannabis and some gummies, but non-activated ones. And
But this is raw marijuana, and these gummies you're making yourself.
yes,
right?
yeah.
You're not getting them from the shops.
No.
Like,
We make it ourselves. No.
yeah.
We get the raw flower through a Section 21, and then the patient's allowed to use it the way they want to use it. Now, it's 5 years now. My mother has not used one single pill of any pharmacy for pain, for inflammation, for sugar diabetes, for nothing.
5 years.
5 years. 5 years. No, nothing else. She hasn't been to an hospital for the past, I think, it's about 5 years now.
Yeah.
She hasn't been sick for 5 years.
Strictly on cannabis.
She's strictly on this. And something about my mother, you must understand, in her case, it's even worse because she got 2 hip replacements and that went wrong. So she can't walk. So she's always in bed. And, if you're always in bed, you get like bed sores and stuff like that. It's a big problem. So that's why the cream is amazing. And, and if you look at her now, she's healthy. She's extremely healthy. It's with sugar levels is perfect. She hasn't been to hospital. It's not like we've got to rush her to hospital every 6 months to change her medication.
Yes.
And she's only been on medicinal cannabis. So
What drew you to cannabis? What drew you to this fascination with the cannabis plant?
When my dad got sick, I started doing the research, and the only thing that I could actually found that's got sort of an history, prior to, if you look at medicines, prior to the 1908s, even up, I think it was until 1932, most of the medicines in the world had cannabis in it. Most of it. Just go and do your research. I mean, the cough medicine had cannabis in it. So when it was banned, obviously, as a drug now, then, and I don't want to knock the big pharmaceutical companies out there. You've got to be very careful. I think they've done an amazing job with what they've accomplished with, the creating of medicines. But
yes.
What the world is so focused on making profits. So understand, if you make this one medicine and after a couple of years or maybe a couple of months, that side effect is going to cause that can put another product into the market and you make more money. That is something that...
that's what Big Pharma does.
That's something that I won't say bothers me. I'm just surprised that one of the big pharmaceutical companies don't really go full on into cannabis medicine, because if history repeats itself, and if you look at the current diseases and stuff that we've got, I mean, prior to 1910, 1915, 1920, those years, if somebody got cancer, it was terrible, a terrible disease. And look how many people are getting cancer now. It's not funny if you've got a family member or know somebody that died with cancer. So what was the difference? Why is it happening all of a sudden now? Why was that not something that was something that was in history? Why
wasn't it not dealt with?
Yes. So and then if you delve deeper into it, I think cannabis, and I don't want to make any medical claims, I want to call cannabis, rather than a medicine, a extremely healthy protein that without making any claims. You'll get into big trouble if you make claims and you haven't done big clinical researches and stuff like that. So in any case, so that was the plant that caught my attention, and when I saw it worked, I tried everything, absolutely everything, and I just focused on it, and I believe in if the results are there now. If you look at the results of so many patients, globally, and the peer reviews of what this plant does, I don't think enough research or enough money has been spent and time has been given, to this plant, what it's actually capable of.
And Prof, that speaks to, once again, Big Pharma, right? That with almost every product or with every medicine, science and research and fund are given to try and see how it can help people, right?
Yes.
If we know how incredible the cannabis plant is, would you then say it's almost been done purposely not to plow money into it because they know what it would do to their business, right? Because from what I'm hearing from you, there's probably very few diseases that cannabis can't cure.
I don't know of a disease that it cannot cure. The human body works like this. Your human body's got a cannabinoid system. Your human body's got natural cannabinoids in it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what cannabis has got, it's got cannabinoids. Now, you must remember how the body works is your immune system. If you've got a strong immune system,
yes,
then it's difficult for a disease to attack you.
Yes.
And if a disease don't attack you, then you can't really get sick. Now, what cannabis does, if you use it in the right way and manner, it builds your immune system. It makes it so strong. So, and also if you look at your different cannabinoids, your THC, CBD, CBG, CBN, for sleeping, inflammation, pain, it's amazing what it can do. My experience is I know the amount of tablets my mother used, and she's using none of that. So you must understand it's also a commercial thing. If one tablet can actually
eliminate 20, 30 pills. Yes.
1,100 tablets, different generics and normal medicines, what's it going to do to Big Pharma? It might be a massive problem. And people might think I'm crazy when I say this, but I predict in 10 or 15 years from now, if you walk into a pharmacy, you probably won't take any pills. You probably won't get pills anymore. Mm-hmm. This is going to sound crazy. I think everything's going to be in a fluid. You're going to use it through an inhaling device. Mm-hmm. The reason I say that was understand what happens if you use a tablet. It goes to your stomach. Then from your stomach to your liver, to your kidneys, into your bloodstream. But if you inhale something, then what happens, the medicine or the pharmacology of the specific, let's say, substance that you use goes into your glands of your mouth.
Yes.
And that goes from there into your brain and your bloodstream. And then if you inhale, it goes into your lungs, from your lungs directly into your
bloodstream, yes.
Into your bloodstream. So that takes a lot of strain of your stomach, your kidney, your liver. Uh-huh. So I predict that, and it's instant. Mm-hmm. It's absolutely instant.
It's an instant hit, yes. It's like when you smoke a cigarette, you immediately feel that.
You immediately feel that.
Oh, wow.
And also the perception with cannabis, you must understand, if you consume cannabis in a manner where you smoke it, and you feel that euphoria, scared, and
yes,
that.
So when you get high,
when you get high, if you get like scared and stuff, it's not the THC. If you grow cannabis, this plant's got a rooting system. Everything that you feed it will take up and it will put it into the flower head. Mm-hmm. Your heavy metals, whatever it is. So if you grow it with chemicals, that chemical's going to sit in the flower. If you take that flower and you're going to burn that flower, you're going to activate that chemical. Uh-huh. And it's that chemical that gives you that, so...
Yes, the anxiety,
that anxiety and stuff paranoia. Like that. So the paranoia. Yes. So, if you grow cannabis the right way, the organic way, I don't like to call it high. I like to call it, I call it chill. Mm-hmm. Get chilled.
Yes,
just relax.
Yeah, you relax.
But us as humans, we've got this this thing of, if there's a difference between having a drink and getting drunk. If you go to a bar to go and have a drink, doesn't mean necessarily you're going to get drunk. But
Yes.
we've got a tendency to take something that is relaxing and put this bad stigma to it, make it like, drunk and dronk and
Yes. Hoog and
choked and, I don't know why, but that's how the human are designed, and what I'm hoping to do is change the narrative of this whole dacha idea of cannabis, that people can see this is just a plant. This is a nutrient. It's like something that you can, I use an example like a car. Most of the cars that you buy can drive 200 kilometers plus per hour, but that doesn't mean there's no road in this country where you're allowed to drive 200 kilometers an hour. That's up to you as a human to use it in the right way or to abuse it.
Yes, 100%.
So everything is about abuse. And it is just if we do it in the right way and we approach this industry in a right way, then...
You raise a very important point, Prof, and I'd like to come in there because when you say that, it then goes back to why have our laws not changed with the research and a lot of the development that has happened over time and a lot of the studies that have come out, a lot of papers that have come out. Where is our law failing us? Where is our constitution failing us? Or where is government failing us? Because surely if it's such a good product, there has to be a change.
You must understand, it's not just up to a country or to decide this is what we're going to do with cannabis. You've got International Narcotics Control Council, a board, INCB, that's there. Then you've got the World Health Organization. Mm-hmm. So there's rules and stuff. And you've got to be careful that you don't just do something with what's seen as a drug to go and do whatever you want to do. Mm-hmm. And just open it up. In South Africa, I think we're one of the very few countries. I don't know about any other country that says that you can actually grow the plant, at yourself, at your house and stuff like that. Which I personally, the fact that I said it, I think that fact that it's been decriminalized, cannabis being decriminalized, sorry, is great. But it could cause a massive problem as well, because now, for somebody that doesn't know how to grow cannabis, now all of a sudden you get this right that you can grow your 4 plants and you use cannabis. But now you don't know how to grow. So what you do, you go and Google, how to feed it and stuff like that. Then you get this nutrients and there's this booster. Then you actually grow it with all the wrong stuff to get a nice looking flower head. Because if you look at how the industry works, it's all about, they say bag appeal. How that flower looks.
Yes. How many strands? How does it shine? Can you see it glistening? And then they give it names. That. This is cherry murskon. This is what?
Yes, they give it all these AK-47 and crazy names, that they give it. About a year ago, I went to Germany. I took our worst looking flower that we grew as samples to the Germans. I didn't want that bud appeal. And it tested something like 14% and 16% THC on it. Gave it to them to test, and they came back and they said, wow, what of the best cannabis they've ever tasted and used, ever.
And this is your worst.
And we didn't want to take the best, because if you take the best, you want to export. Then if something arrives in Germany, then they're going to say, but you showed us something else when you were here. Uh-huh. So rather under promise and over deliver.
Halala.
That's much better. Mm-hmm. And what I've learned in this industry, that something that actually looks great and brilliant, it's not what it seems. It could be something bad. And with one of my partners, a lesson that we learned, 30-second think quickly. He's got a BMW M3. One night we drove back from Joburg. We stopped at the robot, this old Polo that's got like not even mags or nothing, that's got a lot of smoke. Stopped at the robot. He went wham, wham, wham. And I looked at my partner, and my partner says, no, man, this is nothing.
A waste of time.
Waste of time. And put it into sport drive or whatever, and then they went. I'm not a fast driver, so obviously I was panicking. I don't like to do that. But that polo just disappeared in front of us. Pooh. What? Stopped at the next robot and looked again. And so my partner said, no, man, there was something wrong. Didn't put it in like sport or something.
Oh, there's something's not making sense.
So then he said, let's go again. And again, pooh, polo disappeared. And then we stopped, and the guy stopped next to the guy at the next robot, and obviously he was waiting for us, because we were catching up.
Yeah.
And my partner still says, wow, that thing, it's crazy. So that's another lesson that just shows you, in layman terms, just a lesson that it's not what it looks like, it's what it can do, and that's the lesson that we need. The same lesson is in cannabis. It's not how that flower looks. Mm-hmm. It's what that flower can actually do. Wow. What the actual power of that flower is. So if you look at how we grow, it's good looking, flower, good looking medicine, but you get much better. I've seen some stuff that came from Thailand that they brought in, some stuff from other countries that's so dense and this indoor, and it's amazing. But I'm not a big believer in the butter peel thing, and also I'm not a big believer in treating this plant when you grow it like a sissy, because remember, if you nurse that plant in such a way that you don't expose it to nature.
Yes. Like the same way we say kids must play, kids must eat sand, kids must eat plants, everything.
That's how you build your immune system. Yes. And then that makes you strong. That makes you for strong against attacks. And the same is the thing with cannabis. Exposure to nature when it grows. If you look in America, they've got fields outdoor which they grow, and medical cannabis has got this perception that if you don't control it in such a way that it's grown, with you've got to have HEPA filters in your rooms and lights. If you don't expose it to nature, then
how do you?
Then it's not medical. So it's
Would you say you found the magic in cannabis, right? Because as you say, 5, 10, let's say 10, 15, 20 years ago, right? Dacha was dacha. It was for smoking and it was for getting high, right? But would you say you found the wonder and the magic of cannabis? Because when I look at all of these products, how did you get to a point where you realize that there are so many properties to cannabis that can help people in so many and different ways?
The only way I can explain that is, any new sweet that you get or new cold drink that you get is not something, although it's something brand new, it's only the recipe. It's existing stuff that's there that was just combined to create something.
Yes.
So, and I think if you really eat, live and sleep this and look beyond the smoking, getting high, and the medicinal value. Yes, the recipe and the combination of how you do it and how you apply it, it's always been there. It is just, up until now, globally, it's getting accepted more and more African countries are coming up with that, yes, we allow cannabis now. So, first cannabis license official license that we got was in Botswana. And what happened there is with the president that time when I got the first license, started in Botswana. Then presidents, your government's changes. Then they just cancelled my license, basically sued them, went to court, sued the government, won the case. Then they appealed and it says go back to court. But luckily in Botswana, what happened was with the new president that's there, actually now says cannabis for medicinal use and hemp, we're legalizing it and we're putting structures into place.
Wow.
So I would say if you ask that question, it's if you use it and some of our products is very unique, and some of our products are very unique. So I would say, if you say a wonder, is it really a wonder cure? Remember, it's always been there. It is just, it's been illegal for a very long time. Now that, if there's a lot of pressure, and I think this is what's very important in South Africa, I reckon about 10%, of people in South Africa uses cannabis. And you'll be surprised, because we work with doctors and stuff like that. There's so many patients that actually, and lawyers and professionals out there that actually uses cannabis, but obviously in a legal way. What they do, they go and see a doctor. Doctor gives a prescription, apply through our regulator that they can use medicinal cannabis, and then they use medicinal cannabis. So there's a lot of professional people that use it. And if you've been using cannabis for an extremely long time,
yes,
and you're used to it, I can't say you're addicted to it. It's like somebody drinks a lot of coffee. I don't drink coffee at all. I don't drink anything. I don't drink hot stuff at all. But you can't say because somebody's using cannabis for a long time is addicted to it, because then you must say somebody that drinks coffee, and lives, every morning, gotta have your cup of coffee. Then that's a drug, because that's caffeine. If that relaxes you, then that's your medicine.
That's your medicine.
Then
yes.
that's what calms you and makes you, relaxed. So then you've got a condition. And a lot of people that use cannabis or use coffee and stuff like that to calm them down has actually got a sort of a condition, and that is the medicine that helps. That helps them.
Deal with that condition.
Yeah.
I want to ask you something, Prof. Right? There's a whole lot of products that are in front of us here. Which one would you say shocked you the most in terms of results? And what were those results when you look at some of the products that you've got here?
In actual fact,
is it the Wonder Pill?
Yes.
What's it called? Cannagod or something? Yes.
Yes. There's a Wonder Pill. Or I won't call it a Wonder Pill. Let's call it a nutrient. Amazing nutrient, a protein, because you can't say a Wonder Pill.
Yes.
And that we've developed with a company called Pivot Genetics. Dave Sillier from Pivot Genetics, which is our manufacturing partner. And that is something that the results is absolutely phenomenal. But in the same breath, if you look at that's why we call the Wonder Bomb. A couple of months ago, we had a mother that called us. She had a 4-month-old baby, and this baby got the shakes all the time, just like rattling and shaking, and asked what can she use. Obviously, can't give any cannabis, and she wanted to use the only thing we can thought of was the Wonder Bomb. They consulted with the doctor, got the doctor's permission, and because it's a complementary medicine, she started applying some of the Wonder Bomb on the shoulders and on the feet, and you can speak to the mother today. It's 4 or 5 days that baby is as healthy as could be. So it's everything about this plant amazes me. Absolutely everything. So but if I would say the flagship one would be the Cannagod, which is and you must also understand what our cannabis works is. No flower that you get is activated yet. That's THCA or THCV. The mother of all cannabinoids is CBG. Now, what CBG is, CBG helps with inflammation and pain. But the first cannabinoid that actually that gets created in cannabis is CBG. Now, to get CBG, what you've got to do, and on CBG you can't get high. It's impossible. You just when you grow cannabis, you do an early harvest because then you've got that CBG, that cannabinoid. Now, that according to me is an amazing cannabinoid. But again, like I said, it's like the research that's been done there and that's been out there it's like there's hold back not to do too much research,
Yes.
but we want to get there. So, but the world is evolving, and I think the pressure is on.
Yes.
That we've got to start doing, the research. And also, what amazed me a lot is, the soaps and stuff. What I do is to prove something. If you look at how my brother looks and how I look, my brother is nearly bald. Okay, so but what I do, I've got this soap that we make, and the Wonder Balm. With the Wonder Balm, once a week, I'll take some of that, put it into my scalp, and I'll put that shower cap on. I'll sleep in the night with it, so it can actually go into my my skull, and just because I don't want to lose my hair yet, So
you're not ready, you know what?
and it helps even with hair growth. So if you ask about everything amazes me. If I had to put something on a pedestal, I'll put cannabis, the plant, on a pedestal.
Yeah.
And what you do with this plant on a pedestal. But I'm excited about all the products, and there's a couple of new ones that we're busy developing. But you've got to understand also when you do this development, development takes a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Because
research, yes.
Research, and you research and you fail, you make batches and you fail, and you make batches and you fail. You've got to be so patient. Now, the trick in this industry, I think, is two things. Now, my dad told me something when he was still alive that you've got to get right in life. Patience and timing. You've got to be so patient if you do something. But even when you start something big, your timing's got to be perfect. Now, I think the timing aspect is perfect right now, globally, for us to take this to the next level.
Wow.
Yeah. So I hope that answered that question of what do I think, which is the best product.
Prof, how big is this industry? Just to maybe get people to understand the importance of what it is that you're trying to achieve. How big is the cannabis industry, not only in South Africa, but globally? And what could it do to change the lives of ordinary South African if we just gave it a chance?
To give you an idea, I think now in South Africa, about a year and a half ago, somebody that I know has got a cannabis shop in Durban. And when I spoke to him a week ago, he said to me, I asked him, how's it going? And he said to me, his turnover dropped a lot because there's 17 shops open in that one street where he was the only one.
Wow.
There's about 9,000 shops in South Africa.
That's a bigger footprint than Checkers Pick and Pay.
It's bigger than Checkers and Pick and Pay. Okay. And those 9,000 are still open. Now, are these shops illegal? No, this is a question I don't know how to answer, because if they were illegal, why are they still open?
Yes.
So the industry is massive. And if you look at reality, like I said, let's say 10% of South African actually uses cannabis, 10%. Mm-hmm. And let's say equivalent to only 1 gram a day. There's 60 million people in South Africa. Mm-hmm. That's 6 million people that uses a gram of cannabis per day. 6 million grams per day. I think where we are losing out in South Africa, and where we are making the mistake is, and I know people would want to kill me if I say that, but if I say, but it's got to be taxed, we've got to pay tax on it. We've got to, there's got to be taxes that's got to go to government, for this industry. Now, I want to use a very simple example. I believe, look at previous problems, how it was solved, and that gives you, if you've got a problem, that gives you a solution. Now, what was one of our major problems we had in South Africa about, let's say, 2-3 years ago? Load shedding.
Load shedding. Eskom.
Massive.
Yes.
And everybody says Eskom. Okay, old infrastructure. There's a lot of stuff that I think that was why we had so much load shedding. Why we had so much load shedding. But what did the president do? He appointed a minister of electricity. What happened since he's done that? Look at the change. Massive change. Remember, that minister No, there was no rights taken away from Eskom or taken away from
The Minister of Minerals and
Minerals and
Energy.
Energy.
Yeah.
But it solved our problem. Right. So, first question, how big is this industry? With this 9,000 shops that's open, it's absolutely massive. The fact that that somebody like Donald Trump went a couple of months ago and he signed a declaration where he actually he says he signed he's almost got that special declarations that he signed, on cannabis, where they actually acknowledge that cannabis is medicinal. There is a value in medicinal use. That shows a lot. Now, I think in South Africa, what we've got to do is to actually get the full potential of this plant, we must have a minister of cannabis and hemp. Okay, but must be careful. This mustn't be catered employment, firstly. Secondly, not everybody in South Africa, like I said, maybe 10% use cannabis.
Yes.
You can't go and put more burden on
the taxpayer.
On the taxpayer and stuff like that. So this must be zero cost to the taxpayer. And what we've done when this the last paper came up for public comment, what we did, we submitted the entire proposal to the, to government and Department of Agriculture. We sent it to SARS as well, where I have a ministry of cannabis and hemp, where it's self-sustainable, nothing from treasury, because these 9,000 shops that's there already, every month there's new and new shops opening. We've got to regulate that somehow, So if that is regulated in the right way, this could, for the GDP of this country and the additional money that we can create for this country is you're talking about billions. And job creation, that's the most important thing. Because you've got to grow this. You've got to make these products.
Got to make yes.
And that's where the big opportunity comes in, for in South Africa, and globally, to make this, but to actually manufacture these products. But like I said, I'm not a believer in these machines and stuff like that to do human jobs. I want to create these jobs, because the more jobs we can create, the less obviously crime you're going to have, because now you don't have people that actually would want to go and do crime to actually survive.
Yes.
I'm probably one of the poorest cannabis farmers, in the country, because I'm trying to do it right. But the vision is there to take something extremely, extremely, I won't say small, but extremely unknown, with such a bad connotation to it, and take that into something very big. So that is what the vision is. And I think globally it is more than just possible.
Prof, thank you so much for your time. I wish we had more time to talk about these things, especially around alternative medicines, the work that you've done. But we commend you for this journey. 18 years of supporting this industry is no small play. And we know and we've seen Big Pharma, and thank goodness to social media and the internet, we are now seeing the benefits of cannabis and what has always been hidden from us.
Thank you so much, Mac. And and all that I've got to say to everybody out there, all these shops that's there, it's very brave people. Let's hope things are going to change in such a way that we can build this industry in a legal way where that's acceptable globally, And I think we're right on our way. And I want to amend the SAPRA and the government for although everybody thinks they taking too much time, I think up until now they've done quite a good job, and so I'm proud where the industry is now, and I'm excited where it's going. And again, for people like you that believe in entrepreneurs and people like us, thank you for that. I really appreciate that. And let's take this journey and take it together and see what we can do and make this work globally for the benefit of the human race.
Prof De Bee, thank you so much. Thank you for joining us on Be Frank with MacG. We're not saying get high, ne? Remember, smoking it is the worst way to take it. You must
Yes, definitely.
Sasa.